In this demonstration, we are going to quickly talk about basic widget configuration relative to content, style, and action settings. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm on the Insert Widget panel on the left. I am going to drag in my map widget. And once that frame is within my working canvas, you'll see that it's automatically selected. So the configuration settings for that specific widget are over on the right. Now, I can manually change the size and position of this widget, however I would like that to look. And this is something that we don't really have with other application builders. It's a very special thing about Experience Builder. For instance, if I now want to bring in the legend, and I want that legend to overlap with my map down in the lower right-hand corner, I have the ability to do so. So the control that you have over how your widgets and frames are placed on the canvas is much more customizable than any of the other application builders. What I also want to show is the differences in the configuration settings. If you look over on the right, I still have my legend frame selected. You can see that I have two tabs. I have a content tab, which is where I will select the map to connect to the legend, and I have a style tab. If I click onto my map frame, you'll see I actually have three tabs. I have a content tab, a style tab, and an action tab. So we're going to start at the content tab. Most widgets need to point to a data source or another widget, depending on how that widget is functioning. So in this case, we need to connect a map to our map widget. I am going to click on Select Map, and then I am going to click my Points of Interest map, which has already been connected through this Add New Data option down at the bottom. When you add new data, what you're doing is adding that data as an option within your experience. When you add it, it does not automatically get added to the map until you click on it. So you must select it, and when you select it, you'll see it appear over here as a thumbnail within your map configuration settings panel. I'm going to close out of this extended select data panel, and now you can see that my points of interest map is connected to my map frame. Now, if I want to connect the same map to this legend, I have to click on the legend and then select my map widget, which at this point is just called map. So I am going to select map, and then you can see that the legend associated with the map that is connected to my map widget is now showing. If I click over to the style settings for my legend, you're going to see that I have options of setting the width and height by either percentage. I could choose pixel. This section here is where I have even more control. So let's say I wanted this frame to be snapped to the lower right-hand corner of my application page. What this is saying is currently the right side of my frame is 24.6% away from the right edge, but I want to make this 0% away from the right edge. So I'm going to type in 0, and then you can see that my widget moved over. Let's actually say I want to have it 0% from the top edge and the right edge. I can click here to open this up, change that 46.3 to 0, and it will snap to the top edge. So now it's at 0% from the top edge and 0% from the right edge. Now these settings are going to be the same regardless of what widget you pull into your working canvas. If I scroll down, you can see that there are border and box shadow options as well. If I click on the quick style, I usually don't like any of these quick styles. So typically I have to click on custom, and then I add my own border based on, what I want the look and feel to be. So I'm going to go ahead and create my own border. You can see that that's been created. And now if I scroll down, I want to add a quick style for a box shadow. So you can customize this as well, but I typically go with the default or the large. So this is what the default looks like. And if I come and do the large, that's what the large looks like. So those types of styles, I'm going to click back over to my map frame and click into the styles. Those styles and options are pretty much the same for both of these widgets, but you are going to find that each widget has unique configuration options based on their functionality and how they look. So for example, I'm going to pull in this bookmark widget. And then I am going to come down here. You can see that I have box shadow and border options, but for this one, I also have the option to change the background. So if I click on background and choose this blue, you can see that I've now changed the background to that blue. And so when it does come to style settings, most of the time between the widgets, you will have the same options. However, depending, you could have additional ones such as the background in the bookmark widget. Just like the other widgets, you have to select the content, what you want to have that connected to as a data source. In this case, I want it connected to my map, and then I can start adding bookmarks for that map. But now I'm going to come over here to the map widget, because at this time, that's the only widget that also has this action tab, because the map allows actions to be pre-configured. There are message actions and data actions. The message actions are based on triggers or events taken by your end user, and then you have pre-configured the action that you want to take place when that happens. For instance, if you want to add a trigger that when your user zooms in, so an extent changes, you'd like the data listed in a table to filter the data records based on what is showing in that map view, then you can set that up here. And that would require you to add the trigger of the extent change and then the action of the framework. Framework is a data source, basically. The framework of that data source filtering data records based on the extent in the map. Now, we're not going to set that up here because this is just a quick demo. If I come over here to the data action tab, this is basically where you can enable or disable certain actions for your users to take at runtime. I'm going to pull in a different widget to show you that these data actions will also vary between widgets. I'm going to pull in this list widget and put it wherever. And then if I come over to actions and data actions, when I have this list widget selected, you can see I have a lot of actions that I can enable or disable. And this is what your users will do at runtime. You won't configure anything. You're just saying, I want my users to be able to see summary statistics based on what they have in their list. Or I want them to be able to filter down the list based on a SQL query expression that they build within that list. And so that's what that would look like. I'm going to pull this out of my map. I'm going to save this and do a quick preview. I'm going to connect a data source so we can see what this looks like. So I just quickly connected the points of interest layer from my map to the list widget so that you can see what the data actions icon looks like on the user's end. So I've now saved that, and I'm going to go to a preview of my experience. And of course, nobody would build an application with overlapping frames like this. But in this list here, now your user can come and click on this data actions option, and then they can run through different actions on their end based on what you have enabled them to do. So that's the difference between message actions and data actions.